Chris Rock is performing a stand-up gig tonight in Boston, his first appearance since the Oscars. If you were Chris, what would be the first joke you'd tell? Assuming you'd want to acknowledge Will Smith's slap? Walk out. Wait for applause to die down. Then, don't get any ideas. None of you MThef are famous. This would play well. He really deserved the award for Best Actor, because after watching the movie Alley, I thought he actually knew how to throw a punch. Supposedly he made a similar joke backstage after the incident, according to a source. He said something like, "I just got hit by Muhammad Ali, and I don't even have a scratch." Allegedly, lol. You know how you can tell that slap wasn't staged? Will didn't make the studio give Jadma a role. This is one I hadn't heard before. Nice. Riff off of Pee Wee Herman's opening remarks at MTV Awards after he was arrested for masturbating in public. Seen any good TV lately? I think it was heard any good jokes lately? Because that year was filled with Pee Wee Herman jokes. What do Lincoln and the guy sitting in front of Pee Wee Herman have in common? Both were shot in the back of the head. Vintage. So, I fired one of my joke writers Monday. Apostrophe. This one. Mayo. I was at the Comedy Cellar, which, based on the timing, must have been one of the first times Michelle Wolf performed after the White House Correspondents' Dinner. She said something like, "I'm Michelle. And I never thought I'd say this, but you probably know me from Fox News." I saw Aziz Ansari at the Comedy Cellar during his sexual assault allegations. His jokes would start out on a serious note, referring to it like, "Listen, I know I gotta work on myself," or "the last few months have had a lot of hard lessons for me etc." and then go into a completely different story, but with the same tones. Then at the very end he gave a little more emotion and expressed gratitude for us giving him a chance to perform BC he wasn't performing at the moment. It was a great set. Aziz Ansari's latest special was f***ing hilarious. His bit on Aaron Rodgers was pretty damn amusing. I thought that was one of the best stand-up specials I've seen in a long while. It had a very intimate feeling to it, and the serious moments helped balance the humor. Loved it. Someone said he should get a helmet and a neck support. I think this would have been the first part of the joke, and then he should have said, "I brought this because my next joke is about Shaquille O'Neal's wife." Edit. Wow, this blew up. Thank you so much for the awards. Or wear shin guards and say my next joke is about Kevin Hart's wife. You think you're tired of Kevin Hart short jokes, then some glorious bastard like you comes along, lol, that was good. I think deep down low Kevin loves these jokes. They really lift him up. To get started, are there any insecure couples in the front row? Okay man, need y'all to move to the back. Not you. Rosa Parks. You cool. I feel like a joke about Will Smith would just be cheating at this point, but I guess that's never bothered him before. Apostrophe. Will would literally fly out to Boston just to slap his ass for that one Mayo. Watch him be in attendance for Chris' performance today, lol. Will just keeps following him around to different shows and slapping him at each one. Like a Refkin Stooges act, or Marshall following Barney after losing another slap bet. Just look out at the audience, squinting a bit in the lights as you scan the crowd carefully until the laughter starts. Then just start the act without mentioning it at all. But I hope he has bodyguards, as some idiot might try to rush the stage. This is an underappreciated one. I can actually see Rock doing this. Just hamming up the careful scanning without saying anything. Maybe start with a few, and that's it. That's probably exactly what will happen. But maybe follow up with a quick joke. Well, it is a comedy show. And then after that quick joke, I think that Chris Rock will continue to tell a few more jokes. Maybe some observations about life, in a humorous manner. He may even do some impersonations, or voices, and then a few more jokes. Yes, that sounds right. When they asked if I wanted to be an Oscar host, I didn't know they meant De La Hoya. So much money for just one round. No talk of Will Smith. Still tore the house down. He's got another show at 10:30. When he walked out, the fucking building shook. 10 minutes standing up. He said, "Come on people, let me do the show." The guy's material is brilliant. Comic genius. Talked politics like if he was possessed by George Carlin. The whole thing was a comedic masterpiece. Covered. Ukraine. Trump, Hillary. No holds barred, no one was spared. Tonight wasn't for the squeamish. Fucking hilarious. Comedic gold. Chris Rock is a comedy legend and a class act. First show at the Wilbur. Thank you Chris, you're a class act. The closure I needed. Thanks for the update. Come out wearing a helmet and with 2 bodyguards by his side. Yep. Just walk on stage with a full face crash helmet on. Tinted visor down. Get to middle of stage. Stop. Flip the visor up and look around at the audience as if trying to pick someone out. Maybe using those little theater binoculars. Those binoculars would sell it for me. Gotta make extra sure. Pause on one person. Keep staring at them for about 5 seconds. Sharply pull the binoculars away. Tap the bodyguard. Point into the crowd. One bodyguard storms off stage. Sorry, I just gotta get ahead of these things now. Yeah, no? So, I guess you've all heard that G.I. Jane 2 probably isn't happening. Apostrophe. This is my favorite. And he says it in a super bummed out tone like that's his only real concern. And calls her Mrs. Will Smith to respect the wish not to use her name. Autumn side piece. Apostrophe. Entering the stage wearing an egg support. Getting wheeled on stage in a wheelchair would be hilarious. With a braced and elevated leg. Lead by a seeing eye dog. A completely hairless dog. This reminds me of Pee Wee Herman's first show. After getting out of jail for allegedly masturbating in a theater. He walked out and shouted, "Heard any good jokes lately?" Chris Rock will either make one joke about it and move on like Pee Wee did. Or he could make his entire act nothing but jokes about Will Smith's wife. I think everyone's hoping for the latter. Richard Pryor stopped doing comedy for a bit after he accidentally lit himself on fire freebasing cocaine. His first show back. He looked around the audience for a bit and said, "Anybody got a light?" Lights match, what's that? Richard Pryor running down the street. And before that, he thanked the audience for their support but then said, "But don't think I didn't hear all the jokes y'all did on my own." One of my favorite of his performances. I'd be like, y'all are never gonna guess what happened to me the other day. Apostrophe. Keep dancing around it. I had a hell of a week. Let me tell you. I had to pick up my tux from the dry cleaners for the Oscars. Tells some cliche story about dry cleaners messing something up. After that, I arrived at the show and had what some might call an altercation. Everyone knows that I don't like arbitrary food or beverage. And those sobs, put that in there. I knew that this was going to be a bad night. Tell a few more harmless anecdotes leading up to the slap. Then skip right over it and thank the audience. Bill Burr did something similar on his Monday morning podcast, talked about how one of the most iconic and memorable events in pop culture history happened at the Oscars. Something he never thought in a million years he would see. A drummer turned director won the Oscar for Best Documentary Feature. And he went on and on about how Questlove did such a great job on his doc and deserved to win the Oscar. Then at the very end he was like, also, I'd pay $1 million to see Chris Rock's next show. Laughed his ear off. And moved on to the next topic. Should Questlove won an Oscar? Yup. Best Documentary. It was the award that Rock was presenting when the whole kerfuffle went down. He gave a moving acceptance speech and was pretty emotional about this win. I'm so mad that his win is being overshadowed by Slapgate. Publicly thank Will Smith for all the extra ticket sales. This, almost like the humor isn't in a joke at their expense, but in acknowledging how crazy it's been. And then I'd like to personally thank Will, and she shall not be named, for the boost in popularity. I ain't been this popular since, well damn, ever. Looks like everybody loves Chris now. Apostrophe. She whose name is out ta my effkin mouth. I'd love if he just kept referring to her this way. Lol. Mrs. Will Smith. I'm hearing all these great suggestions with Ya's voice in my head. For me, it was this one. I'd be like, y'all are never gonna guess what happened to me the other day. Beautiful South 00. Well, after my busy schedule of producing Will's biggest hit in years, I was able to make it here tonight. Apostrophe. Back quote. Now we know why he didn't win for Raleigh. He said backstage apparently that's the only time you get hit by Muhammad Ali and it doesn't leave a scratch. Maybe just a list of the comebacks that went through his head, but were withheld at the time. Like my favorite one. Don't worry, This is the Oscars. You don't have to worry about anyone up on this stage saying your wife's name. Apostrophe. So how many of you got your tickets in the last 3 days? Scalpers working overtime. So, one of the problems with doing stand-up is you sometimes have to deal with hecklers. Lem tell you about the second worst heckler I ever got. Apostrophe. I like this one. Lol. Side note. As a former stand-up, hecklers were not too much of a problem. We are good at improv and have prefabricated routines we can use against hecklers. Comedians like Rock are on an entirely differently level and can instantly torch hecklers. You can see how badly Rock wanted to do that after the slap, but he kept it professional. Oh, I could. Apostrophe. Now before we start, does anyone here have a wife with a medical condition that I need to be aware of? Lol, watch this be Chris Rock who made this post and you just made him a couple more million indirectly. Alternatively, what if he came up with a lot of this on his own already and now has to go back to the drawing board to avoid getting called out on joke stealing from Reddit? Chris Rock is one of the goats. He can come up with dozens of gems within minutes. Won't be a problem. I could. Nah. I think you all might be tired of watching my face. It has been slapped all over the news lately. True. And a good lead. Chris in these comments taking notes. Unless Chris is up lol. Wouldn't he still be in the comments taking notes? Good point. What if this is Chris Rock responding to himself with alt accounts? F it. I would call my whole tour so Will Smith just slap me at the Oscars and travel from city to city with it. Or to quote himself, call it the Will Smith slap the shit out of me tour. I'd call it the tour for the cure with Rogaine advertisements. Chris Rock's Boston Will Smith slap memorial celebrity alopecia awareness pro-am woke joke tour for the cure. I personally would call it the Fresh Prince tour. I would start by walking out with crutches and a neck brace and be like Jada's other lover hit harder, but he's to keep her name out his f-king mouth. I'm gonna open with some alopecia jokes, and then 2 huge bodyguards walk out and stand on either side of him. Bodyguards come out to Here Come the Men in Black. Apostrophe. LMAO, this would be hilarious. Yeah, I know what I heard about Jada Pinkett Smith. Long pause. As he looks nervously around the room. Not a damn thing. There are ones that are funnier than this, but this one has the best ratio of funny to well-crafted taste. The best part about it is that it feels like something Chris Rock would actually say. Could hear this one in his voice for sure. I was gonna say something about Will and Jada, but decided to wait until August. But decided to wait until August comes a minor adjustment. So what's the August part reference? I'm out of the loop. The friend of their kid that Jada had an affair with. Some 23 years old rapper that the Smith family was mentoring, or something like that. Apparently she discussed it in detail on her Facebook show. RTT. That's got to make things awkward for their kid. Suddenly those Call of Duty conversations won't be so funny for him.